Canoo is another up-and-coming EV startup company that I've had my eyes on for a while because they design vehicles that break the norm, and I always kind of appreciate that if it can be done in a way that is practical and functional and affordable. And that's luckily what we're talking about today, because Canoo actually started taking pre-orders for a few of their vehicles and announced pricing for their lifestyle vehicle, the one that the company's been known for making for a while. They've had lots of different prototypes and road testing, going through some pretty rigorous tests, at least on social media. They've been showing it getting pretty dirty, and they've been improving the vehicle to have higher ground clearance, a bit more of a rugged design, and for the longest time they were essentially saying the lifestyle vehicle would only be a subscription model. So they would combine insurance and ownership into just how many days you planned on using the vehicle, and everyone would basically rent it from an app at a time. But I, like many people, agreed that sounded a little bit too bizarre, and I do think that car ownership is preferred, especially in the United States, and people want to be able to buy the vehicle outright and know that it is theirs through and through and not have to pay a daily rate or a monthly rate on a particular vehicle. So I'm glad to see Canoo put in some new leadership and take a different approach. So now they're willing to accept pre-orders for the lifestyle vehicle, and they've announced the pricing is supposed to start just under $35,000. Now keep in mind, because Canoo is a new automaker, they will also qualify for the federal tax credit. Throw in the California clean fuel rewards in there, and we're potentially looking at a vehicle that could start close to $25,000 after incentives, which I think is pretty exciting if you consider the range they're listing for the lifestyle vehicle is 250 miles, and the seating, depending on how you lay out the interior, is between 5 and 7 people. So a lot of the time when you're looking at such a drastic, very bizarre looking vehicle like this, people are like, is it a sedan? Is it a SUV? What do we class it as? And that's kind of what I like about Canoo, is they don't really have a particular class they're shooting for. They're not going for a traditional, it has to be a sedan, it has to be an SUV. This is just a, of course, lifestyle vehicle, and it incorporates a lot of next generation tech by brake-by-wire or drive-by-wire, and having a lot of visibility for both the driver and the passengers, and having a very bus style layout for the back seat passengers and not having a traditional row system like most sedans and SUVs have. It would absolutely turn heads, and I guess I'm just excited to see that the entry-level target price, at least, it could change by the time it delivers, is supposed to be pretty reasonable in my opinion. And deliveries are expected to be at some point next year, so they're not being any more specific than that. So it's more than likely about a year to a year and a half away from official deliveries. But I think that the lifestyle vehicle starting at about 35 grand is a tremendous value, and it's possible that on the specs page, with them always saying that this is the 80 kilowatt hour configuration, that perhaps there's a lower tiered configuration that's gonna be a bit worse range in order to hit that $35,000 price point. But especially for people that are just driving around town and not really looking for something to be a cross-country machine, still, I think that after incentives being close to 25K, even if the range is just somewhere around 200 miles, this could be a pretty interesting vehicle to hit the market. And the reason it grabs my attention is mainly because I'm starting to get a little bit sick of so many different companies coming out with different electric crossover vehicles. Between, okay, we all know about the Model Y, we've been talking about the Model Y for years now, and we all know it's pretty great. But now, of course, we've got the Mustang Mach-E, we got the VW ID4, we got the Polestar, we've got the Hyundai Kona electric vehicle, and the list is just growing and growing and growing, and they're all kind of doing different techniques on the same fundamental design. So it's kind of interesting to see a company take a completely different direction with it that allows them to bring a lower starting price to market, which is, in my opinion, truly what electric vehicles need, is more entry-level pricing. But that, of course, is not the only vehicle Canoo has in their pipeline. They're now once again reiterating that their pickup truck is supposed to be out on the market as early as 2023, so we still got a couple years before that comes out. And in my opinion, the most interesting vehicle that probably has a huge market and a whole lot of potential is their multi-purpose delivery vehicle. On the website, they're claiming this one is supposed to start at about $33,000, although because it's a delivery vehicle and they know that the use case for delivery vehicles is going to be restricted to a lot of driving around the city at fairly low speed, speeds. That one is going to have a range around 130 miles, so it's not an insanely long-range vehicle, which kind of explains the lower starting price, but I could see a lot of different markets, especially taco trucks or delivery vans or mail trucks that need to deliver packages, and they'll be doing pretty low speeds around different neighborhoods and driving around inner cities. Makes sense for them to have not an insane amount of range, but still have a maximum amount of cargo space on the inside, although Canoo is not really detailing when the delivery van is supposed to hit the market. But I think that's a product category in the electric vehicle space that hasn't gotten enough attention, and seeing them make it so scalable, like all of their vehicles don't have any paint options. Basically, they're encouraging everybody to just wrap the vehicle how you want it, and Canoo is all about kind of reusing individual platforms so that they can assure certain profitability and affordability with their vehicles. Like the pickup truck obviously is pretty similar to the Canoo lifestyle vehicle, and that's supposed to make it cheaper, so its range is not going to be insanely high. It's not really aiming for the same demographic that the Cybertruck or likely the F-150 EV is going to be targeting, but more of that low range, like weekend warrior demographic. That way you can have affordable electric pickup trucks, and they still have an insane amount of modularity to them and practicality, like a 6-foot bed by default, but you can extend that to 8 feet. You've got a ton of frunk storage and lots of different ways to configure it into a camping adventure vehicle. So seeing a Canoo showcase how many different use cases that their platform is going to allow for is pretty exciting to me, and finding out that that lifestyle vehicle is potentially just a year away from first deliveries and having a pretty low starting price and a lot of practicality with that van style design, I think bodes well for their future. I'm very excited to see where they go, and I hope they can get their vehicles out as soon as possible. $100 fully refundable deposits, of course, reserve at your own risk if you're interested in any of those vehicles, but I would love to check one out as soon as possible and cover it for you guys, and let me know what of the Canoo vehicles they have announced you're most interested in. Appreciate you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.